Holy crap! Episode 65. Yes, it's me and Dan. Look at this, the duo. Jamie's off breeding and putting better people in the world. So good on him. Someone has to do it, right? It's definitely not going to be me. But yeah, so let's get right into it. We're going to try and add in some Jamie's anecdotes that he's left for us throughout this thing, so we can still have his presence with us. But yeah, let's just roll right into it. It's me and Dan today, so let's talk what we're talking. Play what we're talking about. Talk what we're playing. Man, I've got a coffee in hand and it's kicking in, so let's just do it. Dan, what have you been playing? Let's start with that.
Yeah, well, Jamie's playing. What is it? Life of Dad. Like it's Dad Life.
Dad Simulator.
Yeah, Dad Simulator. I've essentially. It's been like more than a week and a half since we actually recorded.
Old now. So
yeah, I'm now 30. So seems long ago. Those days of 29. So last time we spoke, we talked about how I was going to put down Returnal just when it hit my birthday and move on to other stuff. And so the Monday after, I played Returnal, and I went through a run, and after 3 hours, I got to the boss of the third biome, and I beat the boss on my first go, and I was like, this was unbelievable. And then the thing you always forget when playing Returnal, because it's such a slog to go beat the boss, you beat it, and then you forget that the run is still going. And then, so it's not one of those things. Normally, you'd beat a boss. You're like, okay, I'll put the controller down. I'll go in. I'll go in for the night. I'll go do something else. You're like, oh shit, it's still going. So I had to keep going. Hour later, I got to the fourth boss, and then I beat that boss. And I was like, holy shit! I don't know how I've done. I don't know how I've done this, but like, so that was a 4-hour play session. I did that in, and.
Shit.
For anyone that's watching or who is playing it, basically all I did was in the first biome, I went through the whole biome without picking up any health and cleared out absolutely everything. And then I went back retroactively and got all the health, because if you've got full integrity is what it's called. If you've got full integrity and you keep picking up health things, it just slowly keeps increasing it. So I had this giant health bar. Then I went through the second world, did the same thing. Got to the third and just tried to stay away from the enemies as much as I could, because they just absolutely wreck you. But yeah, I did that, so that was exciting.
Nice.
So I did that. I put that down on my birthday. I did my ritual and played Uncharted. I played the first Uncharted. Then I also started Mass Effect again. It was really weird going back and playing the first Uncharted and the first Mass Effect, because these are two games that both came out in 2007. And I don't know if it was just because of my birthday, but yeah, I played these games, and surprisingly, Uncharted holds up better than Mass Effect does.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Mass Effect is very stiff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything is...
It was back then.
Yeah. It was, but I guess I played it first time I played it wasn't until the trilogy came to PS3, because the first one didn't come straight away.
Exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew, it was rough to play then, but it's even more rough now. Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but I'm just playing it on casual. I've actually kind of enjoyed just going back into the world and kind of just sitting there and listening to the dialogue and them speak to each other and hear all these references that I know of, and meeting Tali again for the first time, and all these scenarios. So I'm kind of enjoying that, and yeah, I've just got it on casual so I can blast through it and get to 2.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that when I pick it up. Yeah, I haven't picked it up yet, but I'll be casualing that shit. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then apart from that, last couple of days played 2K just because NBA playoffs. But I've played more games this time than most times.
Nice. Yeah, I've been pretty busy actually. Most of this week, every night, just hop online and play some games with my lady, and we're smashing through. We finished Halo 5 finally, and that's a lot better than I remember it being. To be honest, I actually really enjoyed this playthrough. I've only played the campaign twice, and that was years ago. So it was fun running through co-op, and yeah, I think I look at it a bit more favorably now than I did at the time. It's still like the marketing, still disappointed, massively disappointing. But and then we uninstalled that pretty much straight away because it's like 100 and something gig to free up on my Xbox, and we jumped into Warhammer Dark Alliance, which is like a looter kind of beat 'em up dungeon crawler third person action game thing, and you can co-op and stuff. So I've never played any of those games before, but my fiance is like a massive D&D fan, and she was like, "Oh my god, we have to play this. It's on Game Pass." And I'm like, "All right, fine." We kind of take turns. It's like, we'll play something you want, then we'll play something you want every night, or whatever. But it's actually a lot of fun. It's buggy as hell, a bit of jank in it, but man, I'm actually really enjoying it. When you get into your groove, I call it, of combat, it's very satisfying and rewarding. I believe I'm really having a good time with it. I actually didn't think much of it going in. I'm like, all right, I'll just play this, because it'll be my turn next. But yeah, now I'm finding myself going, so you want to play that? You want to do another dungeon or two, and see how we go. I like it because it's not your typical game where you're just smashing to grind levels, and you're not. You don't feel like you hit a brick wall when you hit a particular quest or whatever. It's very forgiving in a lot of ways, but it's still a challenge. Like, you really have to find allocate your points, and like you've got a character sheet and stuff, just like true D&D. You got to allocate all these feat points and blah blah blah, buy moves and upgrade your weapons and epic loot and all that kind of shit. So it's got all that in it, but it's not. It doesn't leave you going, man, I can't do this. I can't do it. It's just too much. But so it's very accessible in that regard. But I mean, if it's got me over, that's something, because I usually hate those looter type games. But it helps to have a gorgeous woman by your side doing it, And then besides that, we jumped in the Sea of Thieves last night. It's the first time I booted it up since the update for the Pirate's Life. And I didn't even get to the Pirate's Life content, even though it's in the actual adventure space that everybody's in. But we're having a grand old time, man. I think we only got... we had 2 or 3 hours of playtime, and we got grief twice. But it was enough for both of us to go, fuck this, and we uninstalled it. Because we were just having a great old time, just sailing around and digging up treasure and figuring out riddles and exploring islands and shit, just the two of us. And that's the game I want to play. I really want that experience. But even if you go into the Tall Tales content, which is the more story-based stuff, you're still in the same world that everybody else is in. So you can still get griefed. So there's no like real single player aspect or PvE to the game. So I didn't even bother going into the Pirates Life content because it's going to be the same. And I checked it out, and yeah, it's the same. Like, everybody's in the same world. So I don't know how you can progress there if you've got assholes wanting to take you down every 5 minutes. But anyway, besides the point, yeah, grief twice, fair enough. But there are real assholes about it. And
what were they doing?
The last time it happened, I specifically navigated away from a ship because I didn't want to start shit. We got to an outpost to drop all our stuff off and like trade it in for coins and shit and the rewards and all that. So I specifically went around to the other side of the island because there was a boat there that was already parked. I was like, I don't want trouble, so I'm going to go out of my way, park on the other side, and we'll go that way. But they hunted us down on the island. I got killed from behind while I was carrying my shit. So they took it and cashed it in themselves. And while I was waiting to spawn back, and when I spawned back on the boat, they've already set my boat on fire. and Sarah was there like fighting them off and stuff, and like she like died a couple times, and like these guys are all kitted out with all the best weapons and shit, and we're just like trying to cash in our loot and booty and stuff. So we kept spawning back on the ship as it was on fire. So eventually it started to sink, but you're still spawning on it, and they keep killing you. And it's just like this endless cycle, and you can't get off it. And eventually you spawn on some other random island, like away from where you were, and we're like in 2 different parts in the world. And we're just like, this is shit. This is shit. Like, we're having a great time, and we've purposely avoided conflict, but they went after us anyway. I get the game. It's a pirates game. It's a pirates game. What do you expect? It's got thieves in the name. I don't give a fuck. Like, I really don't care. There's so many MMO type games or online games where you can switch out between PvP and PvE servers. It's a thing. I don't know. I don't buy the argument that Rare have in the leads on this game, where they've said several times, oh, if we give it a PvE experience, it takes the soul away from the game, or whatever they say. I'm like, fuck that, man. Like, I tweeted out something yesterday, and it got a lot of traffic, surprisingly, and all these responses, my phone was just going off. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to mute that for now because I'll come back later. And all these people are saying that same shit, or get good, or play a different game, or it's a pirate game. What do you expect? But then you've got all these other people that are on the same boat as me, of going, yeah, I really want to play this game, but I don't want to because of X, Y, Z of what I've just described. And people are like going, I would play it if I could play it by myself or invite friends into my session and just play. And so there's this back and forth for ages. And so I'm not alone in this. I don't understand why the people that have been playing it since day one are like, well, this is the game. Go play something else. I don't care. I mean, there's so many more people that are left on the table that want to play this game, but they're pushed away from it because of all those reasons. Why would you play a game for 2 hours and then get it taken away from you? Like, all your progression is gone because some asshole wants to ruin your game session just because they can. I don't care about that. Like, people like me, like, I have X amount of time to play games. I can't just sit there and just get good. And I just want to chill and sail around with my lady and do pirate things and dig up treasure and solve riddles. That's all I want to do. Anyway, so yeah, I really wanted. This is the last time, man. I know I've talked to you guys about this over the last few years. But this is it, man. I'm not going back. Like, I sound like an abusive partner, that's been on the abusive end. Like, oh, no, it'll change. It'll get better, But no, this time it's like, nah, I uninstalled it. No, that's it. Because I wanted to purposely introduce her to the game as something that we could play together. So I thought it might have changed by now. Like, I thought people have got all that shit out of their system, and all the people that are still there are on the battle area, like the battle arena stuff. But anyway, yeah. So it's got so much good potential, man. Like, the rest of the game is great. I really, really enjoy it, but it's enough to turn me off it. But anyway, that's a long rant about Sea of Thieves. I know Jamie, he's having a good time with it. What he mentioned in chat earlier today. I mean, but he likes that kind of stuff. He kind of enjoys the challenge, and I'm just like, nah, man, I just want to chill. But yeah, one more game before we start getting into topics. Alex the Kid remake finally came out. Yep. Oh my shit, man. Oh man, it's the best remake it could hope for. Like, it's the art style, it's very charming, and the music is, it invokes the original game. Obviously, it's not the like 8-bit music and shit. It's redone and rewritten, and like, I guess it's more orchestral or whatever you want to call it, or a bit more modern, and sounds like real people actually performed this music. But you can hear the themes and everything in there. But the iconic sounds aren't there. Like, his punch sound is different. The jump sound isn't there. So some of that character's not there, but the rest of it's super charming. And I totally forgot how hard that game is. It's ball busting, like they were back in the day. Like, I forgot how slippery and slidey Alex is around the map, and how unforgiving some of the, like, there's tricks in the game, right? You bust open a brick like Mario does. He punches open a box, and you'll get a gift or something like a power ring or whatever. You can shoot fireballs. If you do that once and you die, if you go back, like, you respawn and you go back to that same box and punch it open, fucking Grim Reaper comes out and kills you, and you don't know this. You just don't know which brick is going to happen. So it's just real cheap deaths, and like, you get one hit and you're dead. Doesn't matter what you touch. So the controls are a bit slippy, slidey, and you just end up dying by mistake so many times. I reached out to a friend who's like a retro nerd. He loves Alex Kidd, and it's Alex Kidd, not Alex the Kid. I've been reminded several times. Apparently it's a pet peeve for a lot of people out there. Yeah, but he's like, oh, okay, so it sounds like they haven't changed the mechanics at all. It's still like that. So that's just how it was. I totally forgot how the game was, but you can swap back and forth like all these retro remakes do. You can swap back from the old and then to the new. So it's pretty cool that way. But thankfully, all the rock, paper, scissors matches are all the same. Like, they're all the same combos. So if you remember what they were back in the day, you're going to be fine. I just put up a guide whenever I got up to a boss where you do have to rock, paper, scissors, and I'm not going to guess that shit. I don't have time. But otherwise, I'm really, really digging it. I've actually gotten further in this game than I ever did on the old one. So I don't know if it's if it's me or what, but I'm persevering, and it plays pretty good in handheld mode as well through like remote play, which I've been doing a lot of through the game. But yeah, so I've finally, man, I hope this gets more Alex Kidd games out. He's just one of those old school iconic mascots that people have forgotten about. So yeah, I think that's the Yakuza 2. I'm still going on that. God damn it, it's such a long game. I'm up to chapter 6 out of 15, so I've got a while to go. Anyway, so that's what I've been playing. So that's like half the show right there. Well, look, we've got a few things that we want to burn through now. We'll mix and match. I'll go one of mine, then we go one of yours, and we go one of mine, one of yours.
That sounds nice.
Yes, so it's not just all me all the time. So first off, this is might introduce some of Jamie's aspect in here as well, because he's a PC guy, or he used to be. So Windows 11 is here and it's coming, and it's essentially turning PCs into Xboxes, basically, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's a pretty ballsy move from Microsoft, and I'm happy to see that because they've been going all in on their ecosystem, and this is like the final thing that they need to do to really like make it accessible anywhere. So what does that mean? The Xbox integration into Windows 11. Now, I haven't had a good look at Windows 11 yet. I'm dreading looking at it because I work in IT support, and it's like, oh my God, when I heard about Windows 11, I instantly went to, all the Windows 10 to 11 migrations. Oh my God.
Well, I was talking to my partner's dad yesterday because he mentioned about Windows 11, and I'm like, wasn't the whole point of Windows 10 was that you never get another installment? Like, it would just be an update. Like, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, go through what this is going to do, because I haven't read about this, so you can explain to me. Yep.
So it's a free update, which is good, just like Windows 10 was. So it's essentially going to enable more like superior graphics, enable more like faster hard drives for use. The Xbox integration is all there, like Game Pass and the new store. So it's all going to be unified. Like if your experience on Xbox now, you'll see a similar experience on Windows 11. So there'll be like auto HDR inbuilt into Windows 11, which Xbox currently has. So games that didn't have HDR, or they never were built with HDR, like the original Xbox games or 360 games or any of the Xbox One games that didn't have HDR on it, that feature is going to be there. So it'll convert or automatically do something, some magic, some wizardry to do auto HDR. That's a pretty big deal. Like I don't think people realize how big that is, because it does change the image, and it's very noticeable if you've never experienced it before. The NVMe SSDs that are all coming out now, Windows 11 will be more optimized to take advantage of those, much like the Series X is doing. So you can see the pattern here where they're kind of really trying to integrate everything to make it all on a level playing field. Like you think of Returnal, that game, you could not run that on a standard computer unless you've got an NVMe or one of a similar spec that PS5 is running. So if you think of all these Series X games coming out, and PC games will be utilizing more of these hard drives coming up, Windows 11 will be taking advantage of that, and you'll have parity, I guess. There'll be more opportunity for parity between platforms, which is awesome. Game Pass will be inbuilt into the ecosystem, like directly. It's not just going to be like its own separate app on Windows 10. And there's more and more coming into, like, there's a lot more finer points to go through, but those are kind of the main points I wanted to bring up as far as your Xbox experience on Windows 11. Like the cloud streaming also is going to be, you can use that within your Edge browser. You can do that now, but it's still in beta. But Windows 11 will be more optimized for that, which I'm touching on in my next topic after this. But this is pretty huge, man. Like, this is really Microsoft going all in. And they made a post during E3 time where Satya Nadella came out and he's like full on having a conversation with Phil Spencer about, we're all in. We value our Xbox side and our gamers and blah, blah, blah. The Windows 10, I keep saying Windows 10, Windows 11 is definitely, like, you can just build your own Xbox, essentially. That's kind of when you put it down to, if you put the money in for your parts, like your drive and everything like that, your NVMe shit, you could essentially run parity games to Xbox. Like, I know you're not looking at a Series X, you're on target for the Series S at some point. But with Windows 11 coming out, And you hear about how the parity is there. Like, it sounds like it's going to be putting them both on the same level. Like, are you more inclined? I'm not. I'll just sit on the console. But are you more inclined to maybe just upgrade your spec, your PC, like to match the NVMe hard drive that Series X has or the Series S has or whatever? Or you just want to just have that console experience? I mean, the Series S is limited, right? Just for GPU and all that kind of stuff. So if you had the option to build a PC spec similar to the Series X with what you've got to upgrade or whatever, how do you feel about that? Would you put the money towards the Series S or just upgrade your PC? This is the whole discussion I've seen on Twitter now. Like, what are your feelings on that?
I think you and I are of the same mindset a lot of the time, where we enjoy being on the couch in front of a TV, and that's just kind of where we like to be.
Console experience, hell yeah.
Yeah, like and I think it's always hard for me to get around that, and that's why I'm always, in my mind, I have a PC here that can play a lot of the games that I'm talking about that I will play when I get a Series S, but I just would prefer to have a Series S on, especially when I'm putting in a new theater room at the new house and all that, right? Like, I want to take advantage of that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Spend a lot more money on that than what I did on a PC. But yeah, so console, I think, will just always be where I'm at, and I think I do think there's a thing at Microsoft. What year did they try and move everything to using Windows 10? Was that like 2015?
Oh my gosh.
Time 2016?
Yeah, around there. I remember doing migrations as well for work.
Because basically, they made all the UIs across everything kind of look the same, and then they figured out, well, you can't have the exact UI across everything because some of it doesn't make sense.
They tried that with the Metro OS, like the Metro tiles and that kind of crap. You know, they started doing that Windows 8 and then 8.1 and then 10. But yeah, Windows 11 looks very Swish, by the way. It really does.
Yeah, but it sounds like gaming, this migration to Windows 11, that gaming is probably going to get the biggest boost out of any of the Microsoft products out of this stuff. Like,
sounds like it.
Their tablets and that will get boosted by performance and things like that, but gaming's getting a hell of a lot out of it. From the way you're describing it.
Yeah, man. Like, imagine if they started throwing NVMe drives in their Surface products. Fuck. Like, I want one. But I mean, if you've got this kind of leads into my next topic, which I'll save it for. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes with Microsoft at the moment, and it's I love seeing this kind of Microsoft flex happening. We're just like, yep, we're coming and we're bringing it. This is all our power. Like, everything that we can do, like, here you have it all. And that's like, as a platform enthusiast for Xbox, that's where I do everything and play all my games and shit. This is great to see. Like, yeah, I've got so many fucking options. It's just fantastic, man. Like, I'm even sitting here looking at cheap Android phones just to have a display, so I can free up my actual mobile phone, to play just my streaming through my internet or whatever, just because it's there, Oh man. Anyway, that's kind of. I just wanted to bring something up. Like, Jamie would be the PC enthusiast guy to kind of really comment on more of that. But as like the Xbox guy, those are the points that I wanted to bring up, because if I did have the money to like high spec my PC, just because, like if someone was taking over my land room and I really wanted to play, I don't know, Valhalla or something, I could come in here and just download it and play it in here on my PC, like, and have a similar experience that I would on my Series X. The options are just going to be insane. But then you've got the option just to stream it to your phone. Just, man, gaming, man. It's getting so great. It's getting so awesome. But anyway, I'm overhyping it at the moment. I'm getting really excited. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm done talking about that topic. So it's your turn now. Your turn to speak about what you want to talk about.
On my one, on the Sony side,
yes.
There was I don't know when you call it a report or you call it a rumor, but we'll call it a rumor for now, that apparently there is a standalone mode. Oh, not mode. It's a standalone game called Ghost of Ikishima. I think I got that right. Standalone game, but coming from Sucker Punch, who made Ghost of Tsushima. and apparently it's coming this year, and we're going to learn more about it at whatever this Sony's event is going to be. I can't wait for that episode to talk about what we think is actually going to come out of that thing. And I didn't really want to talk about the actual Ghost of Ikishima game necessarily, but I wanted to speak about how Sony are trending towards, well, years ago with Lost Legacy, but then with Miles Morales coming out at the end of last year, now they're doing a standalone smaller game for Ghost of Tsushima. There's talk about Naughty Dog doing one as well. It seems like Sony are trying to get these like smaller games put out there in between their like bigger titles. And well, as someone outside of that ecosystem at the moment, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think, like, what are your thoughts when you hear this news?
Well, I think it makes sense. I actually quite enjoy expansions, or not so much that are beholden to the core experience. It's like another excuse to join that world without having to retread old steps. Like old PC like big box games used to do that all the time. We'd buy the core game, and then like 6 months to a year later, an expansion for that would come out, which is just another tale in that world, which you can play solely. Like I think, what was the other one? Infamous, the Infamous Second Light, or whatever it's called.
First Light.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that one. So that was like its own. You could buy that individually, and play it on its own. And I think Infamous 2 had one as well on PS3. So there's like a trend there for that particular studio to do that, and I like that. I wish other games series would do that. Like Halo had one with like Halo 3 ODST. It's the last one that comes to mind that was a similar kind of thing, where it was within the Halo 3 world, like it's stuck in between Halo 2 and 3, but it was its own thing that you could play without having to touch any of the other games. And I like that kind of stuff. You can just have this little pocket adventure, without having to just play through the whole main game first. So yeah, it makes sense, man. Why not? I mean, I can't wait to play that main game, Ghost of Tsushima. I'm going to play that at some point when I get my own PS5. And it just looks spectacular and beautiful and everything. So hopefully, if I enjoy that, I've got another little pocket adventure to get to. I'm very keen to see what they do with that. Really am. So yeah, go for it.
The thing that came to my mind about like Lost Legacy and Miles Morales and this is, it's also coming from the fact that all these games are considered like very good games. It would be a different discussion. I also feel if you had a game that was not very good and they had to patch to try and, like, I don't know if I'd be excited if like a Days Gone, like a spin-off game came out. Like, I don't know if I'd be as excited because of where that game currently sits. But I will bring this up because Jamie did mention that, will Ghost of Tsushima get a DLC, blah blah blah. And I said I don't think it would. Turns out if this is true, if this is actually coming out this year, which I find crazy considering the other game only came out in July, that would be insane if this game came out this year. But the other thing I was thinking about, and I think we brought this up when we spoke about when the report about the Last of Us remake coming out. And one of the things that was mentioned at that time is, like, while Naughty Dog are trying to come up with the story and the design of whatever their next game's going to be, these other, like, all these developers need work to do while they're doing that. And that's what I thought about when this came up. I was like, so when Ghost of Tsushima was finishing up, and they brought out that multiplayer mode as well, but when they were finishing up, you had some people working on this little spin-off, and then while all of the people are working on this, you can have the main team working on the sequel. And I'm like, I actually really like this move that they're doing, making these other titles, because from a game developer perspective, they're constantly keeping the people working. And hopefully that leads to less of the how games are normally made, which is you pile up with everybody in the studio, and then after the game's out, you fire like half of them.
Massive turnovers.
Yeah, and I think this is a good way to kind of circumnavigate that. And when you're someone like Sony who is getting extra money off console sales, like I think it's harder to do it as a third party because you don't have that other monetary source coming in. I thought I if they do this with a lot of their different studios, I think that's
hell yeah, I agree. Content is king, as I always say. You know, particularly now, everybody just wants the next thing, like now. So if they keep rotating their staff, making new, not their staff, but their games, the workloads to different things and keeping people employed, I think it's a benefit for everybody, particularly if they have a hit game. Like the Gears of War games, they've usually had story DLC that tell other parts of the world within that game. Like Gears of War 3 had a General Realm DLC, and Gears 5 has this big Hivebusters story content, which is totally different characters, but it's set during the same time as Gears 5. I haven't played that yet, but I can't wait to get to that. But you have to, I don't think you can buy that individually. That's what I'm saying. Like I like if they did have those options of like pocket games, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's cool, man. That's
good.
Me? All right, cool. Well, this is a quick one. I just wanted to bring it up because I've experienced this. So when I was just talking about the Windows 11 stuff and how they're going to be integrating and putting parity across the board, well, they've actually started putting the Series X server blades into the Azure servers for the cloud streaming stuff. And people have started to notice because when you jump into the cloud gaming side of it, like using the app or within your browser or whatever, people have noticed in some games that there's other graphical options like 120 frames per second mode or performance or whatever, like those options that everybody sees now when they've got a PS5 or a Series X or whatever, where you can swap between performance or graphics or whatever. People are starting to see that now in the cloud versions of the games, which means that they're starting to put these new blades in, and it's not all the time. It just depends on when you boot up and what server you get allocated to. So it's still being implemented, but I thought I'd give it a go. So I jumped in to see if these through Game Pass because I've got the beta app here in Australia, and last time I touched on it, it was it was a bit rough, like 30 FPS if that. But yesterday when I saw this article, I was like, oh, really cool. So I booted it up and went straight in this Sea of Thieves. I'm like smashing like smooth as hell, like it's 60 FPS just through my streaming. I was like, wow, this is cool. And I checked through some of the settings, and it's like, yeah, this must be on one of those Series X blades, which is great because it was so responsive. It was really fast and smooth. So if that's how it's going to be going forward, like obviously there's always going to be a bit of latency through through your input, whatever, depending on what game you're going to play. I'm curious to see how Destiny 2 plays on cloud because it is still a bit rough last time I touched on it, but I can get straight through that on Game Pass Ultimate. But it's cool to see, man. Like what I was just talking about with this power of like Microsoft's just going, yep, fucking flex, everything let's bring it on. And the whole argument of like Nintendo Switch being that handheld experience, I think there's a real contender here with Microsoft now when they're upgrading these blades and making it a viable option, like a more viable option than it was ever before when they start doing this. Just from my one experience with that, I'm like, hell yeah. If that's a sign of things to come, bring it on. Mind you, I am in a Wi-Fi environment. I'm not using 5G. I don't have a 5G area here, or let alone a phone that can utilize that. But I mean, my 4G experience has still been pretty good, hit and miss depending on where I am. But I mean, ultimately, if you're within your own Wi-Fi environment, you're going to have a better experience. But I don't know, just thought it was cool to bring up, just in case there are people out there that maybe listen that want to try it out. If you have Game Pass Ultimate, throw it in your phone and just see if you're on the part of the world that has it anyway. And give it a whirl because, man, if you don't want to buy an Xbox, this is the whole thing of like, do you need a PC or do you need an Xbox, or are you good with just doing it through streaming? Because this is going to be a very viable option for a lot of people out there if this is how it performs. I'm very excited about that. I've always wanted a handheld Xbox. I've ranted and raved about it for years, and now I'm getting one. Eventually, it's not like running on hardware, but it's the next best thing. Yeah, super excited about it. I don't know if you give a shit about it, but I mean, you prefer your console experience. I know, so do I. But
the only thing that I think of is I can think of so many people that would benefit from it, but they're the ones that wouldn't hear about this stuff. Like, I reckon I could go and talk to 10 different people in my life that know Xbox is a thing and PlayStation, but they would have no idea about Game Pass Ultimate. They wouldn't know, oh, you can just have it on your phone, and they would probably get into more games by that, but they don't quite have that concept. And I try and not preach a lot in my life about a lot of stuff. So when someone brings it up, I'll then kind of go into it and be like, well, you can just do this. Like there's a mate of mine who's always had a PlayStation, and I'm like, and buys 2K. I'm like, what? Like you don't need to buy a whole console necessarily to play that, or if you do, like you don't need a Series X or PlayStation 5, get a Series S. Like there's so many scenarios, and it's dependent on each person. Like I know a couple of my mates who just they'll play games every so often, but they don't need to. They can just play it on their phone, and that would be enough for them to get by.
Yeah, big time, man. Like I see the scenario of like if you got one Xbox Series X at home and you want to play with someone, your partner or whatever, to play a co-op game. You don't have two consoles or two TVs. One of you can just jump on your phone, and if it's on Game Pass, like cloud streaming anyway, you can play it through there, and they can play it on TV or vice versa. That kind of scenario, I'm really excited about. When you don't have to play over the internet at two different houses just to play together. You can come over and play in the same house on two different devices, and it's near parity. I'm so excited about that, man. I really, really am. But I know I'm probably in the minority there. But I know there's a lot of people out there that they don't have an Xbox, so they're not willing to, shoot the gun on it. And if you can just buy Game Pass Ultimate for a month for $15 and then give it a go, you've got all these games available to you. Anyway, super hyped. Yeah, I'm wearing an Xbox hat for a reason. Anyway, I'll hand it back to you. You got another one you want to talk up?
So the other one was more Sony news. Insomniac are apparently hiring for a multiplayer project. We have no idea whether it's multiplayer to do with one of their existing games or if it's a totally new project standing on its own. But I just wanted to bring it up because recently we've been hearing a lot coming out of Sony about these different projects that they're in their studios and people they're going out and getting games made for them. For example, we know about The Last of Us. Last of Us. Naughty Dog are making a multiplayer specific game, like it's all on its own. Apparently still has to do with storytelling and all that they're known for, but multiplayer projects. There's that rumored second studio at Guerrilla, who hired the guy who led Rainbow Six Siege, who started up a secondary studio there to make some type of game, which people are talking it might be the SOCOM series. That studio they announced that they're working with called Firewalk Studios, and they're making a multiplayer game. There was a studio the other week from those Call of Duty announcements where I think that will still be a single player game, but it's very hard to have a first person shooter or something like that these days without some type of multiplayer component.
Yeah.
So I've just noticed that they're starting to bring in a few more of these multiplayer services, and while I don't normally play them, I think I've been saying to you and Jamie for a long time, like I love the games that Sony make, the third-person action adventure games, but they do need to branch out their portfolio a little bit about the games they bring to people. Like there are people that do want to play shooters, and it is probably the most popular genre in the entire world still, with Call of Duty and Destiny and all that. So I do want to see different stuff, and I just noticed that it's coming out, and it's a different proposition on a Sony console compared to like an Xbox console, where you have Game Pass. So it's well, in terms of the price that they'll release it at and stuff like that, whether it's connected to an existing series or a new one. I just wanted to get your thoughts on those things.
Yeah, well, Xbox and PlayStation both have the same problem where they've got too much of the one thing, right? Like Sony has a lot of the single player story based content, third person action games or walking simulators and stuff. Whereas Xbox has a lot of the multiplayer kind of things. A lot of games are built around the aspect of co-op or multiplayer. Xbox doesn't have those really strong single player games that Sony's always pumping out, and I feel that loss. Like I would like to have those kind of experiences on my side. So if they're really going, well, we need a multiplayer type game. They don't have a Halo. They just don't. And we don't have like I'm in a tribe or whatever. Like we don't have an Uncharted. They tried that to lock down Tomb Raider for an exclusive thing, which I hated. That was so dumb. But now they're trying to fix that with like all their acquisitions and shit that they've made. So I'm keen to see what happens there. But I'd like to see Sony come out. I don't know, fucking Hellzone. That's still an IP that people care about. I mean, I'm just getting into it. I've just got the old games recently, and I think that'd be great if they brought that back or Resistance somehow. Those things still hold weight with the PlayStation fans. I get wanting to do a whole new IP, but why not lean into one of your old ones? Where you've got an install base that's already there waiting. That's
reinvented.
That's right. Yeah, reinvented. That's what I would do anyway. Yeah, go for it, man. I'd love to see Sony get one of those kind of games. Just like I said, as much as I'd like to see Microsoft have one of those third-person action games that everybody loves on the Sony side. I want Xbox to have a Spider-Man. I want Xbox to have a Ghost of Tsushima. I'd love that kind of shit. I want Xbox to have a God of War. Senua's Sacrifice is not God of War. It's just not. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, cool. I'm looking forward to it. See what they do.
Well, I think Resistance is the main one that's put up there because it's Insomniac that are hiring for this multiplayer project, and they're the ones that made Resistance in the first place. So I understand why people think that. But people shouldn't also get scared about it being reinvented or anything like that, because that's literally what they did with God of War.
Yes.
If someone said, "Oh, we're going to reinvent God of War," people would panic and throw and be like, "What are you making?" Like shit. But it's like, it's still the essence of God of War, but it's a different game to what you used to play. So if they did that Resistance, like, we're not getting rid of what has come before. We're just changing it up. I wouldn't mind that, but and I think I heard someone this week talk about, maybe they'll do a Sunset Overdrive 2 multiplayer. That seems like a more likely candidate. I'm like, if Sony's going to lean into a pre-existing product from Insomniac, they're going to lean into the one that was on PlayStation consoles before. They wouldn't go and be like, no, we're going to rely on the Xbox one that we made. It's like that.
Sunset Overdrive didn't set the world on fire either, so I don't see them doing that. I really enjoyed that game, by the way. It's a whole lot of fun. I remember coming back from work. It was one of those games. It was like, man, I can't wait to come home from work and play that. That was
the first game I got when I got the Xbox One a couple of years later. That's the first game I got because I liked Insomniac, and that was the one game that kind of stood out differently at the time from a lot of the other ones. I was like, yeah, I'll play that.
100%.
But yeah, and the one other thing about multiplayer stuff is the fact that they're partnering with the Evo. Like they bought Evo that with the fighting game side of it, and I wonder if they're looking into that as well with fighting games, and I think that's a really good segue into your last topic.
Yes, oh good man, I love you. That's fantastic. Yes, I'll touch on this just briefly because I really do have to run in a matter of moments. But Phil Spencer is finally acknowledging the existence of the idea that Killer Instinct is still in their minds. Oh my god, I couldn't believe that when I heard it. I love Killer Instinct. I played the shit out of that at launch and just recently. It's a game I always go back to. Like that game in 2013 I was blown away by it, and it's just had multiple seasons of content ever since. And it's just gotten better and better and better, even though they transitioned from was it Double Helix to Iron Galaxy? Double Helix got bought by Amazon, so they couldn't continue making that game. So Iron Galaxy jumped in to finish it and brought it more seasons. So Phil Spencer's like, yeah, look, it hasn't left our minds. It's it's on top of our minds, and we're just waiting for the right team, which it makes sense because there's only so many developers out there that know how to make a good fighting game. And Killer Instinct is one of those fighting games that you need a particular team. Like, there was a lot of reasons why the reboot worked in 2013 because they had the right people at the right time. They had fuck all budget. It was made on like the smell of an oily rag, but the people that were working on it loved Killer Instinct so much that they're like, yeah, let's freaking do this. This is our chance to kind of put our stamp on Killer Instinct. And it shows, man. The music, like from Mick Gordon, is just fantastic. I listen to that soundtrack still to this day. And the combat is just so satisfying. It's I can't rave about this game enough. And the fact that they're still thinking about it, they haven't forgotten it, just makes me smile because it's the one thing Microsoft doesn't have. Like, they don't have a fighting game. They've got all their other shit ticked off or being built, right? But they don't have a fighting game. And none of their teams, when you look at their roster in the Microsoft Game Studios, none of their teams are equipped to do it right. So who they get in to do it, I have no idea. But they need to be careful because Killer Instinct is beloved. Like, they just did a recent tournament on Twitch and had like 40 to 50,000 viewers on it. From a game back in 2013. Like, people are still loving the shit out of this game. They've got something there and they know it. They know it. And I can't wait. I hope they give it the budget it deserves and the team that's deserving to do it, man. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on it because I'm super excited. I don't have much time to talk about it much more. I really have to run soon. So I don't know if you care about Killer Instinct, but do you give a shit?
It's not so much that I don't really care about Killer Instinct, but I was thinking about like fighting game studios and how difficult they must be to keep up and running a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, so like they're a second party studio for Microsoft, and Microsoft pays them the money and they make the game. But once the game has been made and then you're just getting these slow drips of like DLC, it must be really hard to try and get another game made because most of the time they end up just making a sequel to that one. Yeah. And it must be like creatively a difficult task, and also bringing money into the studio is not as easy as like if you're just making a first person shooter or something.
Yeah.
I think that's why NetherRealm gets as much respect as they do, because they release a Mortal Kombat and then they're moving on to an Injustice game, so it's a totally different feeling game. They don't feel like they're just working away on the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And it helps that they had Warner Brothers as their backer. But I'm just thinking, like, if you had to have it as a first-party game, it would be like, you feel like that'd be the best way to do it. But you wouldn't want them just making the same game once and then a sequel and then continuing on. You'd want them to, okay, now try this type of fighting game or do something different. So
they need to just buy Iron Galaxy, man. They just need to buy Iron Galaxy and go, here's the budget, do it again.
Yeah, but you don't want them to run into the same issue that some Microsoft studios has, which is, well, you're the studio that makes this game and that's it.
Yeah,
like the way Playground Games are getting to make Fable after making Forza games forever for years and years. It's like, now you get to make a Fable game, and then maybe and then at certain periods we'll move you back over onto Forza, or like get them a ways to change up. That's what I think the industry, especially the big ones like Sony and Microsoft, need to let their teams be more creative and make different shit. And I think that's what you have to do with fighting game studios.
100%. Like, Iron Galaxy have commented on it, and they're like, we would love to do it, but we're too fucking busy. We're literally just starting on something else. And so there is that hope of like, well, maybe when they finish whatever they're doing, they might just go, hey, Microsoft, let's talk. Oh my God, that'd be fucking amazing. I would love that so much. But the guys behind that are Killer Instinct enthusiasts, like back from the arcade days. That's why it's so good. They polished that game up so much when they took it over from Double Helix. Oh, go play that game. I'm probably going to install it again. Oh man, love that shit. Anyway, yeah, I have nothing else to talk about. I really need to wrap it up. But appreciate your time, Dan, as always, and everybody else who's watching. Thank you for your time, and hopefully enjoy your Sunday or Saturday, wherever you are in the world. And this hairy beard will be back next week, and we'll see who else we're joined by. Like, Dan's going to be there, but is Jamie going to be with us? Is he? That's a mystery. Wait until next week. Wait until next week. Hopefully you can squeeze some time in. I'd love to see him. Anyhow, yeah, enjoy your day. Toodle pip. I'm gone. I'm out of here. Bye.
Bye.